Laguna Beach, California. Here, with surf, sky, a solitary man born to controversy. Within this man, a restless, unsatisfied desire. It is the searching need to find deliverance from a world too often ugly. To weave through the drab fabric of reality a bright thread of illusion. For this, he has been denounced bitterly for perverting his medium of expression and praised for recalling its neglected potentiality. He is William Mortensen, artist, photographer. Louis-Jacques Mandet Daguerre, a French scene painter, demonstrated the photographic phenomenon to the French Academy of Sciences in 1839. Many thought the claims he made for his discovery were quite immodest, not to say preposterous. It would seem now that his claims were not nearly preposterous enough. Today, photography affects almost every phase of human endeavor, from breakfast to bedtime, from cradle to grave. We are surrounded, dominated, and conditioned by its tyrannical presence. Photography has become the visible voice of Big Brother and the hard-sell advertiser's most potent ally. All this would astonish and dismay Daguerre. He was a scene painter, remember, and dealt not with reality, but with illusion. Every art practiced by man shows two aspects, a mechanical basis and a creative superstructure. Now, research into acoustics or the theory of color may be scientifically rewarding for scientists, but they never presume to tell Mozart how to write a quartet or to prescribe to Raphael the proper tint for the Virgin's mantle. But photography, from the start, has been a scientific project. Daguerre's simple mahogany box has been converted into a scientific instrument of marvelous precision and convenience that almost anyone can operate, and does. There would be no harm, indeed great advantage in all these improvements, except that we tend to think that the whole of photography is summed up in optical and chemical knowledge, so that anyone who knows the vocabulary knows photography. Mortensen summed the matter up some years ago in a book called Monsters and Madonnas. The monster, of course, is the machine, the mechanical aspect of photography, domineering and aggressive, endlessly spawning more machines. The Madonna represents not a character in religious drama, but creative fertility, the energy of the imagination. Despite all the commercial abuses of photography, despite the senseless proliferation of gadgets, despite the exploitation of mere technique as an end in itself, one salutary fact stubbornly persists, a fact often overlooked, but always at hand for those with the ability to use it. The fact that the camera is and always has been a most excellent tool for making not just photographs, records of whatever the camera happens to be pointed at, but pictures which point the eye of the mind at an idea as well as at an image. One man, one photographer, has for the past 40 years known, been driven by, followed, and defended this truth. William Mortensen. He has been called radical, shocking, and even subversive by many photographers. He confounds such criticism by continuing to create pictures, and his pictures speak for themselves. What motivated this man to create such pictures as these? Perhaps it was the influence of the old masters that infused his early interest in art. If you say, as sometimes people do, that these pictures look like paintings, it is not because they imitate them, but because Mortensen concerns himself with the same problems the painter does. For these are photographs, made with strict photographic techniques. And these photographic procedures are of his own creation. They are not photographs as most of us know them, bright little records of a particular time and place, but pictures that strive to escape such strict pitch, offering instead the timelessness of illusion. At the end of World War I, ex-Private Mortensen enrolled in the New York Art Students League. Significant were the hours he spent haunting the Metropolitan Museum, looking and looking at the works of the old masters. It was here that his eye began to see the painter's way of viewing the world. A brief trip to Greece confirmed his classic viewpoint, as seen in his etchings. How then did the painting, the influence of the old masters, and the mechanics of photography come together? It was not an overnight happening. He had, for years, been intrigued by the camera's possibilities, but his contest with it really began in Hollywood. He came to create scenery and masks for the movies. But the challenge of making pictures with a camera caught his interest. He photographed the stars for a magazine called Vanity Fair. Norma Shearer, Rudolph Valentino, Clara Bow, Marlene Dietrich, Jean Harlow. Nearly every major star faced his camera. Elaborate photographic essays followed. These pictures from witchcraft and demonology began to show his departure from the accepted form of photography. Preparation for the Sabbath. Black Magic. The Warlock. Belphegor. Death of Hypatia. Torture of a Heretic. heretic. Characters from Charles Dickens. The Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. The creativity and imagination of these did not go unnoticed. He knew somehow that photography was withholding pictorial capability. He searched, experimented, and discovered a technique still used by many photographers, the texture screen. He was gaining both ability and recognition. When Cecil B. DeMille began his epic production, King of Kings, Mortensen was assigned as still photographer. And even here, he violated tradition. Instead of the ponderous 8x10 camera used by other still men, he crawled around the set with a small camera. And he was shooting his stills during action, rather than after the scene was completed. This had never been done before. The results were electrifying. These photographs were something more than mere records of the action. They were pictures in their own right. Over 100 bound volumes were made containing these pictures and sent to various libraries, museums, and universities. One was accepted by the Vatican. By now, he had begun his contest with the camera in earnest. But there were stirrings beneath the Hollywood veneer that was to finish things there as he knew them. The talkies and the Depression. Both bit deeply into the serene madness of movie making. And a frantic era ended. He came to pick up the pieces in Laguna Beach. It seemed to be the end of everything. Actually, it was the beginning. It was 1931, harsh times for the luxury of a portrait. Between the infrequent customers, he began to experiment. He systematically manipulated photographic processes. As new ideas became more defined, it led him to the notion of writing about them, but writing proved a perverse medium. What then was more natural for a photographer who couldn't write than to find a writer who knew nothing of photography? George Dunham. A valuable and lifetime friendship emerged. Upwards of 100 articles on a variety of subjects were printed in many photographic publications. Perhaps more importantly, books were written. Among them, The Command to Look, Projection Control, Pictorial Lighting, The Model, Mortensen on the Negative, Outdoor Portraiture, Monsters and Madonnas. Although out of print today, it is highly prized and sought after by collectors of photographic art. 13 books in all relating to Mortensen's photographic philosophies and procedures. After 30 years, Mortensen and Dunham are still at it. If one word could describe the results of the publications and pictures, it would be controversy. The fraternity of conservative photographers, purist photographers, devotees of things as they are, And those who believe that a photograph is merely that which is pulled dripping from the hypo rejected Mortensen's work. To them, it was not bona fide photography. When this picture, Lazarus, was published, one inspired critic wrote, "If that was Lazarus, they should have let him lay." The controversy was, of course, inconclusive, but it was healthy and served to clarify the opposing attitudes. And Mortensen saw to it that it developed respect for his ideas, for the critics were answered in a series of articles called Venus and Vulcan, with Venus standing for the creative urge and Vulcan for the technical approach. Subject matter, too, was often the arena for attack. Mortensen replied by stubbornly continuing to create pictures of whatever subject pleased him. Photographic societies branded him radical, cavalier, unorthodox, and his work inconsequential. It is interesting to note that he belongs to only one photographic organization, the Camera Club of Zagreb, Yugoslavia. He accepted their invitation to join, he says, because one, it cost him nothing, and two, he is not required to attend meetings. But he was also praised for his creative work. The Royal Photographic Society of Great Britain awarded him the coveted Hood Medal for this picture, Pouring Milk, in which Mortensen freely acknowledges the influence of Vermeer. He is the only American to receive this honor. He has had 4 one-man showings at the Smithsonian Institute, and some of his work is on permanent display in the photographic section. He has been awarded medals for pictures by Spain, Yugoslavia, Portugal, France, England, Canada, and Sweden. And other countries have communicated praise for work submitted to their exhibitions. His pictures have been displayed in every major gallery around the world. And so, controversy and attack never prevented him from continuing to create. Woman of Languedoc. Paris de Ballet. Thunder. sculptor. The slave girl. Man with an uncompromising faith. Rope dancer. My father. Girl of the Highlands. Benedetto. L'amour. Adelita. Machiavelli. Johann the Mad. Human relations. The Pit and the Pendulum. Girdo. The Tailor. The Young Spaniard. Morocco. Niccolo Paganini. First day of school. Gentleman of leisure. Madame Lafarge. Tragedy. In his search for means of eluding the material limitations of the photographic medium, its tight realism, its bondage to particular time and place, he turned to various traditional processes. And eventually devised numerous new processes of his own. Abrasion, color pigment, prismatic. Metal chrome. All color processes start with a black and white print. The color, however, is not a surface application, but is produced by controlled chemical action within the photographic emulsion. The techniques are not important in and of themselves, but only as a means of creating a picture. And as his recognition spread, like-minded persons came to him to be taught. Thus was born the Mortensen School of Photography. It has never had an elm-shaded campus nor ivy-cut walls. Its physical appearance may even be somewhat disappointing. Still, over 3,000 students from all over the world have entered its cramped interior. They were all interested in photography, amateurs and discontented professionals alike. For discontent may be the hallmark of the Mortensen photographic philosophy. The lively discontent with what photography seems to promise and what it actually produces. Among the discontented photographers in the world, and certainly among the 3,000 students, lies the future of this photographic philosophy. Many personalities have come before his camera, some already notable, some about to be. Charles Coburn, Mary Anders, Martha Vickers, Audrey Dalton, Deborah Carr, Rock Hudson, Jean Crane.
I might say that I learned to act, or at least got my first insight into what acting was about, in front of Bill Mortensen's camera. I was pretty young then, and while I already had roseate dreams about a career, I had very little notion about how to realize them. What Bill taught me in front of his still camera stood me in good stead later on in front of the movie camera. How to transform an idea into action, and action into a picture. It was a tough discipline, but it was fun, for he gave me lots of latitude to dream up my own ideas and to test them out. Sometimes we would just look at pictures, the paintings of the masters, and see how an infinity of new ideas could be found in them, and so I learned something about interpretation. But truthfully, I was unprepared for the volume of shots he made of me. We worked together for something like 8 months, and during that time he made over 3,000 negatives of me in so many places, poses, and costumes that I can't even remember them all. Because he worked 14 hours a day, I guess he expected everyone to. Bill often said that all art was one, the work of the Greeks, the Gothic masters, the great men of the Renaissance, and that while poetry, drama, music, painting, and all the rest have each their own way of doing things, they all participate in a common effort in which each is helped by the others. Acting also, I've found, if it's good acting, must owe something to all the other arts. It is Mortensen's feeling for the oneness of the arts, I think, that has enabled him to raise the craft of photography to a new realm of artistic expression.
search for photographic perfection leads to enormous expenditure of effort and material. In all, he estimates he has made between 3 and 4 million exposures. At present, he has only a few dozen prints, which he values as realizing in some degree the excellence he has sought. And what of these pictures? We know they are photographs, yet they are something more. They show what photography is capable of achieving. Photography is a land of extremes. On one hand lurks the world of the mechanical, technically frightening, mathematically frustrating, a function of shuttered machinery and regimented reproductions of reality. And across the space of no middle ground, the world of imagination. Not things, but the shapes of things. A place little concerned with whether a picture is a photograph or a painting, how it was made or where. It is a place concerned only with universal, timeless illusion. It is the world of William Mortensen.